Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today. This webinar is being presented by the Clean Energy States Alliance, and the topic for today's webinar is Supporting States and Communities, NREL's Workforce Development Tools and Technical Assistance. And we have an excellent panel of guest speakers with us today, but before I pass it over to them, I'd like to go over a couple of webinar logistics. All attendees are in listen-only mode, so your webcam and microphone are disabled, as is the chat function. You can submit questions and comments via the Q&A panel. We'll be saving about 15 to 20 minutes at the end of the webinar to go over audience questions. So whenever you think of a question, just pop it in the chat and we'll get to it in the end. Automated captions are also available. Speakers' bios will be made available in the chat as speakers are being introduced. And finally, this webinar is being recorded. We will email you a webinar recording within 48 hours, and it will also be posted on CESA's website at cesa.org/webinars. And with that, I'd like to pass it over to our host for today, my colleague Anna Ziai.
Thank you, Zareen, and hello, everyone. My name is Anna Ziai, and I'm the Project Director of Federal Initiatives at CESA. CESA is a national nonprofit coalition of public agencies and organizations working together to advance clean energy. We work with state leaders, federal agencies, industry representatives, and other stakeholders to develop clean energy programs and inclusive renewable energy markets. Our members are mostly state agencies, but they include many of the most innovative, successful, and influential public funders of clean energy initiatives in the country. And when we go to the next slide, you'll see some of their logos on your screen. All right, so this webinar is also part of the CESA Federal Initiatives Project, which provides opportunities for CESA members and all U.S. states to learn about federal energy developments and exchange information to advance energy deployment in their particular state. So this includes things like keeping participants abreast of federal policies and funding opportunities via the Federal Energy News newsletter, and by bringing in industry experts, as we are doing today in this webinar. Also helping them leverage and request technical assistance provided by CESA and partnering organizations, and by sharing best practices and peer learning in energy program design and implementation among states and regions. Right. So today we are lucky enough to be joined by the workforce team at NREL, the National Renewable Energy Laboratory's Workforce Analysis, Resources, and Pathways team. And they're going to be talking about how you can use those resources in your state and with other stakeholder engagement initiatives. So you can see our panel of experts from NREL on your screen, and I'm going to give a very brief introduction of each person, but I really encourage you to read their full bios in the PDF that Zareen is posting in the chat after the presentation to learn more. So today we're going to hear from Kristen Wegner-Guilfoyle, who's a project manager and researcher for NREL's Center for Industrial Research and Systems Innovation Workforce Research topic. Jennifer Daw, who's the senior researcher and group manager on a number of topics, including workforce and energy systems transformation. Jeremy Stefik, who's a workforce and economic development researcher. Alexandra Kramer, who's a researcher in the Integrated Sciences for Energy Transitions Group, and Elise DeGeorge, who's a project leader on wind and water power workforce development projects, regional planning projects, and other hydropower and manufacturing projects. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Elise. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Anna. Thank you very much to CESA for the opportunity to be here so that NREL can share with you information on a topic we're very passionate about, workforce development. On the next slide, we share our workforce mission statement, where NREL strengthens the energy workforce needed for an affordable, secure, and reliable energy future by analyzing industry needs, fostering key partnerships, developing education resources, and building capacity. We are covering today an agenda as follows. Kristen will share a bit about NREL. The rest of the team will chime in to talk about workforce analysis, resources, pathways, and engagement. And most importantly, ways for states to engage. We'll really be diving in a bit on how our workforce development activities and analysis can support you all at the state level. Thank you. Turning it over to Kristen.
Great. Thank you so much, Elise. We're excited to be here today. Next slide, please. My name is Kristen, and I lead the NREL's Cross-Lab Workforce Working Group, as well as Analysis Project and Industry Partnerships. So we're excited to be here. Before we begin, I'd love to know, have you worked with NREL before? I believe we have a poll for that. We'd also love to know, have you worked with other national labs? And if so, which labs? Great, thanks. So NREL's focus is energy systems, R&D. We lead research, innovation, and partnerships towards an affordable, secure, and energy future. We are one of Department of Energy's 17 national labs. And within NREL, we have 16 research programs, over 1,000 active partnerships, including government agencies like state, local, tribal governments, and federal partners beyond Department of Energy. Next slide, please. So this is a bit about what we do in the workforce research, and we'll dive deeper throughout this webinar, especially ways that you can engage with us and partner with us to do workforce research. So we merge technology insights with workforce assessments to map the critical roles and skills. We produce supply-demand insights across occupations to help stakeholders build a reliable, skilled workforce. And we collaborate with government, industry, educators, and communities to strengthen pathways to drive innovation. We create resources and programs to build capacity and connect job seekers to in-demand careers. Next slide, please. So why do we do this? Workforce development is critical to meeting the energy demand, and this lays out the challenges and also solutions. So on the top right, you can see the growing electricity demand. We anticipate it to increase by 20% by 2050 compared to where we were in 2018. There's multiple factors that are driving that. Data centers, which we hear about quite a bit, EV cars, building electrification, lots of different trends that are really driving this. And so this also causes potential gaps for key occupations. So there's skilled labor shortages in key industries, such as construction workers and other occupations, as well as competing demand for qualified workers across technologies or across different sectors. So the emerging technology needs innovative skill sets. Without the cost of inaction is staffing misalignment, such as lost productivity, increased overtime and hiring, missed economic opportunities. And we hear this across states as well as industry partners. So there are solutions, and we'll present some of the ones that we lead. But intentional workforce planning based on analysis of skills, occupations, and training can really help fill the gap. And also aligning education that's provided along with industry goals and needs that's across different technologies as well as regionally and across the entire country. Next slide, please. So here are the three spheres where we see our work, and we'll dive deeper into this over the course of this webinar. So the workforce analysis on the top, and in that we include analysis and forecasting, workforce pathways on the right, all the way from collegiate competitions, curricula development, resources, programs and investments, partnerships, community and industry engagement on the left, industry partnerships, capacity building, guidance documents, and this overlap in between community and industry engagement and workforce pathways at the very bottom, career maps, pathways, accreditation, job task analysis, etc. Next slide. I'd like to now hand it over to my colleague, Jen.
Thank you all. Just trying to get off of mute here. Thank you for the opportunity to join this presentation today. My name is Jennifer Dye. I'm a senior researcher and group manager at NREL, focused on workforce-related topics for energy systems. And in the following slides, we'll be sharing more with you on the workforce analysis that we've conducted as a lab, our resources that we create, as well as the engagement that we have with both communities and industry. And in this area, we're very interested in sharing with you resources that hopefully you and your organization could adopt or take advantage of. Please feel free to offer questions in the chat if there's anything specific you would like to learn more about. Let's go to the next slide. So first, on the workforce analysis, one of the core areas for the lab is understanding national workforce trends. We both do this at a national level, looking at the supply and demand for workers in the energy sector, but also look at this from a very technology-specific perspective. And the goal of putting this information out there as a national lab is to understand these issues and all the data around energy systems in a very transparent and credible way that can help inform decision makers, as well as educators or others involved in training and upscaling of workers about the opportunities that exist in the energy space. So in this vein, we're looking at labor markets, as well as education and training ecosystems that exist in the United States, and how those can support both the existing as well as projected job needs in the US. We look at this from various different perspectives, including workers with 4-year degrees, as well as people with craft and trade professions or other professions, and a variety of different skill levels. And so we're highlighting here a few of the different national assessments that we've conducted for energy technologies. Each of these is funded by different DOE offices focused on a specific technology, such as wind, hydropower, or solar. And we have several reports that are forthcoming in the future noon. And these are really meant to highlight the critical needs that exist around the jobs and the technologies and help inform decisions for communities and for state organizations. We'll go to the next slide, please. I believe Jeremy was going to jump in here, but I know he is having computer difficulties. I'm going to wait one moment and see if he jumps in. Okay. Not hearing him, I'm going to jump in on this slide, and if there are additional questions, folks can ask later in the webinar. So NREL also recently developed a new methodology called the Workforce Readiness Index. This is one of our workforce analysis areas that we're very excited about as a lab, as it helps us better understand workforce needs at the regional and local levels. And this method is meant to provide insights into how prepared communities are to support occupations. This can be used across a range of energy technologies and takes into account different work streams and workforce development areas in the calculation, like workforce availability, transportation access, transferable skills, and training program availability. A report documenting these methods is going to be released soon. I actually had the pleasure of reviewing this report, and I think it's a very interesting area for us to be providing more information on. And this is going to be a valuable resource for decision makers as well as states that they can leverage to understand questions they have on where to invest specifically in workforce issues. NREL has used this method on several studies, including this forthcoming report, and have looked at issues such as workforce readiness for wind turbine blades, towers, monopile manufacturing in states such as Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia. Let's go to the next slide, please.
All right, so next I'm going to jump in and talk about how states might incorporate these types of analyses into a project that you're currently working on. So here's one example of a program that has supported several different states that have worked with NREL. So this is the Communities LEAP program. And so a primary theme that we see in some of these technical assistance programs is how can we support you in decision making? So where to invest your program dollars, and because no solution is the same, how can we take best practices or past case studies and apply them to your specific landscape needs, goals, constraints, etc. So in this program, here's some examples here. In Colorado, we use these for job transferability. So this is more of upskilling and workers from coal jobs into other technologies, so filling a new need. In the Alaska project, this was an analysis of existing skills and programs to show what's already available. In the Maryland project, this was using economic impact tools, which we'll discuss in the next section. But these are opportunities of how this impact could align with state and local priority areas. And then the final one, looking at West Coast states. This one also was interested in impacts, but impacts of new technologies like offshore wind. And so this could be applied to similar types of new technologies that might be coming into your state. Next slide, please.
Great. Thank you, Alex. So back to me. We also have a range of resources that we have created for job seekers, as well as organizations that are helping to support entry into various careers or developing job skills. So these are listed here as both occupational maps and career maps. At the top right, occupational maps provide a detailed description of qualifications based on energy technology across different deployment phases of an energy technology. And these maps can be used to inform career maps or career seekers about opportunities that exist. On the lower right, we also have DOE career maps. All of these exist on the external website for DOE for a wide range of energy technologies. And these have a wealth of data on different jobs, skills, abilities, as well as salaries, the type of degree or credential you might need for different jobs in the energy sector. This is both for degreed professions as well as vocational professions. And again, these span a wide range of deployment and skill levels. And we're always looking for ways to get this information out, and we could see this being very beneficial to states and communities to share with different organizations like workforce development boards, community training organizations, or organizations helping to reskill or upskill or help people with job placement in particular. This is a great way to learn about the type of jobs that exist in the energy sector and learn how you might enter into those types of career paths. And let's go to the next slide.
Yeah, both industry and career seekers are often looking at what training programs can provide knowledge and skills across energy technologies. So NREL has also created these inventories of registered apprenticeship programs, community colleges, and universities that offer technology-specific and relevant skill training programs. So the past couple of months, we've released a couple of ArcGIS maps that are available for wind power, hydropower, marine energy. And we do have plans to expand these to other energy technologies. But really you can access these maps and really figure out what training programs exist for different energy technologies across the United States. We're also taking this data and creating new tools like our Energy Training Connector tool, which will be launched later this month. The purpose of this tool is to connect developers and operators with high school programs, other training programs, and workforce development boards, and really support local workforce hiring. So the idea here is you could drop a pin anywhere across the United States where you would want to develop an energy project. You can access lots of useful information on how to connect with nearby programs. Next slide. NREL also offers a couple of job modeling tools. Many on this call may be familiar with the jobs and economic development impact models that NREL's released for the past couple of years. But we are excited to announce that we have a JEDI 2.0 coming that we call WIRED, or the Workforce Impacts and Regional Economic Development Model. What this model is meant to do is help communities understand the construction and operations, job and economic impacts from energy projects. And these are really tools that are really meant to be an independent modeling capability to really empower communities to understand what the impacts could be. So for an example, if your community wanted to develop a conventional geothermal plant, we have a new model coming out soon that would allow you to understand what the constructions, manufacturing, and operations impacts of that facility could be. A lot of communities have accessed the JEDI model in the past for a lot of different technical assistance projects. And so we're excited to bring this new expanded and updated modeling capability. And next slide.
Okay, back to me. So some additional resources we have are geared towards different audiences. At the top right are the Spark Squad comic books. These were originally developed for younger audiences to help them learn more about a range of energy technologies and to engage them early on these topics. However, we found when we do outreach through industry events, for example, in the energy sector, these are really popular. They're actually a great way to get information out there that is credible, but also fun on energy jobs and energy technologies. So we have a wide range of different resources that we put together for our programs. Much of them are available online, and they're all free and publicly available, used with federal funding. And these are geared for general audience to learn more about energy technologies. to job seekers or students to learn about particular jobs and career paths, as well as educators. In many of these technology areas, we actually have curricula that's posted online and publicly available for people to learn more and to incorporate these types of technologies into science curricula or other types of coursework that are offered. And our goal here is to build awareness of energy careers across all age groups with credible information, and to support skill development and career exploration through engaging and accessible content. Some really neat ones that we have at the lower right are day in the life videos that profile professionals in different energy jobs and help people understand the types of things that they do on a day-to-day basis, as well as how they got interested in these jobs. And our goal here is really to introduce energy technologies, energy sector jobs early into the education process, as well as make resources publicly available and easy to access for educators and other job seekers. Let's go to the next slide.
Yeah, thank you. And in that same vein of introducing technical renewable energy and energy efficiency topics to the next generation workforce as early as possible, we host a bunch of collegiate competitions that really allow college level students to do a deep dive on some regional challenges in particular technology areas, gives them real world experience. It's often 2 semesters long, so a full academic school year, and culminates in a final event where they compete against other colleges or groups of colleges to address particular solutions. What we've heard from industry is that many students that come out of these competitions are very well equipped to go straight into the workforce because they are really learning the critical skills around working with teams and handling real world situations. So it's been wonderful to be able to work with their NREL and the other national labs run a bunch of these types of collegiate competitions. We encourage the colleges to partner with community colleges, which has been challenging due to different the misalignment of focus areas, but we're working really hard to come up with maybe community college specific competitions as well. So you might have seen these in your states. I personally work a lot on collegiate wind competition, hydropower collegiate competition, and we're lucky to have Alex on the line who was involved in 2 other competitions, and we'd love to hear from you, Alex, on what impact it has made on you.
Sure thing. Yeah, so as Elise mentioned, I've worked on some of these competitions, but I actually am an alumni of 2 of them from my time in graduate school. And so I participated in the Energy Tech University Prize and the Solar District Cup competition. And I think that there is kind of 3 main things that the takeaways I think are important for the audience here. The first one is that for students, as Elise mentioned, it feels a lot like doing an internship or a fellowship because you're working on kind of a real world project. And so not only are they great experiences to add to a resume or to look at as a hiring manager, but they are also great opportunities for students with less exposure to energy projects where they can apply the work that they're doing in their classes directly to a project. The second one is that most of these projects allow for and request interdisciplinary teams. And so for both of the competitions I competed on, I was in the Department of Engineering, but the other people on my team were in the business school or public policy. And so I was able to work with teams like that, which is very, very conducive to the work that we all do on interdisciplinary teams in the energy industry. And then finally, for employers, there's a great opportunity to mentor or be judges for a lot of these competitions. And a lot of times judges or mentors tell us that they are really excited to learn from students and hear some of their great ideas. So this can also benefit you if you're following the program to hear about those final products and see what students are coming up with. Thanks so much. Back to you, Elise.
Thank you. Next slide, please.
Yeah, and NREL also offers some other programs to help bridge workforce gaps and provide students experiences across critical occupations. This slide is just showing 2 additional opportunities that are under development right now. The first we're really excited about is the Energy Works Forum. This is a partnership between NREL, the Center for Energy Workforce Development, and the Clean Power Institute. And what this is a virtual career fair for both students and career seekers who are looking to understand different careers in energy. And so during this event, we'll have a couple different breakout groups focused on business, technical skills, skilled trades, and kind of a find your fit panel. But the idea here is just bring together panelists who have experience in these careers to offer insights on how to get jobs, what their day-to-day job looks like, and just create awareness and provide career seekers with information on energy careers. So that event's coming up this October. We're really excited about it and would love for states to be able to share out through their different programs to those career seekers who might be interested to be able to join and learn more. Another example is we're currently designing a composites technician program. So this is just an example of how students work across different states, community colleges. So the idea here is that we're building a program that would partner with a Colorado community college for students to learn more about wind composites. The plan is to provide hands-on training here at the NREL Flatirons campus at our composites manufacturing education and technology facility. And so just providing another example of some of the opportunities and programs that NREL offers kind of at the state level. Next slide, please.
I can jump in here. Great. So this is a slide on the school partnerships. We've discussed a lot of different types of partnerships that we have, but really wanted to showcase how we see this across the school, the workforce pipeline. So starting in K through 12, pre-career, higher education, and highlighted programs. I think it's also important to note the different schools that would fit within this, such as community colleges, as well as different programs like apprenticeship programs too. We just wanted to highlight the types of work and the ways that we engage and also are open for opportunities to partner across the school partnerships. Next slide, please. So NREL brings together diverse stakeholders. And we've mentioned this throughout the different slides, but also want to explicitly say the way that we do this. We bring together diverse stakeholders across industry, academia, workforce boards, and policymakers to align on workforce opportunities and to be able to identify barriers and find solutions together. So through these convenings, we help surface shared priorities, enable collective solutions that not a single group could tackle on their own. Some examples include national workforce strategy development, advisory boards, community college convenings, and this upcoming year, we'll be supporting Department of Energy's Office of Energy Jobs National Workforce Strategy. So please reach out if you would like us to participate or you would like to learn more about any of the convenings that we have as we start to, as we continue that effort. Next slide, please. We also engage national and regional networks based on stakeholder groups on technical domain stakeholder types. We know that each group has different strengths, needs, focuses, and the goal of connecting and developing workforce strategies, and doing so in partnership with employer demand and community needs. Jen, would you like to add anything else to this?
Yes, happy to. To me, one of the core areas of the work that we do when we are collecting data and we're doing analysis on workforce issues and trends is grounding them really closely to what's going on at the state or local level or the national level, working closely with partners such as industry, private sector, labor unions, educators, to really make sure we have a strong understanding of the work that's needed in this space, of the issues around workforce supply and demand, and to help align any of our activities around those priorities. As Kristen mentioned, we heavily leverage our convening capabilities, and it's a great role for NREL to play in as a national lab to work across these different types of organizations. You'll hear later about some of our technical assistance programs that work very closely with communities on specific issues and bring the best practices and knowledge that NREL has in this space, as well as the tools and resources and data sets that we've developed to help address these pressing challenges that exist in the communities. So just wanted to flag this for all of you. These are the types of organizations that we work with. Next slide.
Great, thanks. NREL also manages the American-Made Prize program. So prizes catalyze innovation by offering funding, visibility, and technical assistance, as well as de-risk early-stage ideas and reward collaboration. So to date, the American-Made Challenges ecosystem has supported over 1,200 teams, providing private sector partnerships, including business mentorship, to really support a powerful blend of innovation and commercialization support. In the terms of workforce, prizes can accelerate workforce and technology solutions and turning bold ideas into market-ready impact. You can go to the website, the link is there, and I think we'll also provide the URLs in the chat. But you can go there to learn more about current prizes and the program. Next slide, please.
All right, thanks so much. I'm going to take this final section and talk about ways that states can engage. So this will include our technical assistance programs and kind of the menu of options that we have of how we can work together on some of these important topics. Next slide, please. All right, so first, for anyone who hasn't been part of an NREL technical assistance program before, a little context is that we have probably a dozen of them. There's a lot of great opportunities to connect with us. And so we're going to walk through a little bit some of the differences there and how those programs might look at workforce. So a general process, each program is unique, but generally it's in 3 steps. So the first one is we have some initial meeting with you about your goals, about the past work you've done, about what you want to achieve, and about oftentimes that question that you have that we're going to work together on. The second step is that we develop some sort of scope of work, which is most of the time an informal document that says NREL will provide you this, we will do these tasks, and we will provide this deliverable. And so really it's just to align and making sure that we are working on the same thing that you have in mind. And the last one is delivery. So that process can be weeks to months, depending on the complexity of that request. But oftentimes there's check-ins throughout, and we're sharing with you different drafts or iterations of whatever we're working on with some sort of final deliverable. And a lot of times people ask to have that final analysis presented to a coalition or to other stakeholders that we work with, and we're happy to do that. And most of these programs are at no cost to the organizations that participate. So we hope that that is a low barrier to entry for anyone that wants to work with us. Next slide, please. So one specific program that is workforce development centric, a lot of programs do have workforce development elements, but this one specifically works with partners that or partners of organizations that support building contractors. So that might be people who are in HVAC or window installation, roofing, energy auditors, etc. And so this shows you in one program what their kind of menu of options for technical assistance might look like. So generally in those intake calls, we'll provide you an option of what is available through that program. And a lot of times programs offer whatever is available that we can provide at the lab. So all those things that my colleagues presented earlier on, but sometimes shaped to a specific topic area, like this one, talking specifically about buildings. So here you have kind of the 3 different options at the top that we can do tailored technical assistance like research, peer exchanges, resource development, business support, etc. Then a lot of times we're able to share past deliverables that we've done that might kind of shape some ideas of what you might be able to work with us on. So in this program, we've done research specifically with Energy Outreach Colorado, for example, on rebate programs and how to better design those to incorporate contractor needs. We also have done one-pagers and kind of worksheets or stuff for contractors working in the field. So there's some examples there. Or we might be able to also provide examples of past partnerships that we can connect you to support different types of needs. So in this program, another example is the Small Business Administration that helps support building contractors with more business fundamental support. Next slide, please. All right, so broadly in the programs that I was talking about, what sort of workforce-related requests do we get? And again, this is really important because we're able to provide all these things, but we want to match it to the question that you have. And so the main thing that we ask you to come to us with is that sort of question that we can help you with, whether it's how do we meet our goals, how do we create this sort of impact, how do we provide more jobs in this area. And then we're able to tailor some of our tools and resources to that. So the top 5 that we get a lot of requests around, just to spark some ideas, is the first one is workforce training, resources, and best practices. So that's around topics like upskilling, or for instance, in one of the programs I work on, engaging workforces in rural areas is a very common topic, or supporting non-English speakers who might work in these jobs. So all those things might come in that first category. The second one is around trainings. So this might be working with a training organization to provide some more of that technical background. So maybe, there's heat pumps are of great interest, but people want to learn, sometimes the workforce maybe wants to learn more about the technical aspects of that, while to answer some of the questions of what they've experienced on the ground, including compliance or industry standards, all that stuff. So that is in that second category. The third one is economic and job impact modeling. And a lot of those revolve around the JEDI and WIRED tools that we talked about earlier. And that might include things like how different inputs, so for instance, policy changes or new programs or energy goals might impact the economic development that you're trying to reach. And so we can model for those in our tools. The fourth area is regional workforce landscape or market analysis. So if there's questions around supply and demand, do we have these jobs already? How do we get these jobs? What is the demand for these jobs? If we have, and a lot of times too, if there's already training programs, then maybe it's how much demand are there for these training programs, or is there more demand than we have kind of the market for? So all questions in that area. And the last major area that we get is on engaging and recruiting workforce. So this might use tools like the previously described career pathway maps or case studies, or even the tools that Jen just shared around the K through 12 materials. And so that is helping people see themselves in these roles and jobs, and a lot of different types of communication strategies we can use there. Next slide, please. All right, so the next and final slides, we're going to walk through kind of 3 main parts of engaging in a technical assistance program, using this program, the RAISER program, the Resources and Assistance for State Energy Offices and Regulators, as our example. So as I mentioned, there's many different programs focused on different technology areas or different timeframes, and so we're going to talk about those nuances here. So the first one is that when you're choosing a kind of a program or working with us, you would want to consider how much technical assistance time you need. And so some programs like the RAISER program have a bunch of different offerings. So in this program, there's a help desk, which might be a shorter term question. You just want to talk to somebody for a couple hours, maybe get some feedback or a peer review. That might be something like 8 hours. We also have services like expert match services where maybe you're working on a short-term analysis. And so you want somebody to do, just one kind of model of a really specific case study. And so that might be something like 80 to 100 hours. And then there's also options for deeper dives. And a lot of those programs may have an application or some sort of or constraints, such as, you would be involved in the program for 2 years, for example. And so those might be something like 800 hours. And maybe that's a question more related to state level planning efforts, for example. Next slide, please. All right, so the second element here is the topic. And so a lot of energy topics obviously are very interdisciplinary. And so it might be looking more at jobs in the clean energy workforce broadly. But if there's a specific topic or area that you're interested in, for instance, buildings, like that one buildings program, we might be able to connect you to a program that has more of that expertise. And so a benefit there is that a lot of times for the programs that are that have specific technical focuses, the subject matter experts that are working on those programs have worked with all the different stakeholders that have worked on those specific topics. And so not only do they have that technical expertise, but they also have that experience of what other states or organizations are doing, and they're able to build up and check on their own body of knowledge. And so that allows us to also provide more specific examples and examples of past tools. And so here, for instance, this program, the RAISER program, works on integrated grid planning, data center interconnection queues, FERC, DER aggregations, vehicle grid, and resource adequacy. So this might be a really good fit for somebody that is those questions. And again, because 30 states have received technical assistance, there's that opportunity to have some sort of peer sharing of a non-sensitive information, but some of those bigger lessons learned of how those processes have worked and the methods used. Next slide, please. And then finally, the element I want to highlight here is getting it kind of to the right question. And that can be really difficult. Sometimes, you know what the problem is, but you don't know exactly what tool or resource would be best used to get there. And so that is something that we do well at the lab, and we're happy to work with you with. In that initial scoping process, that's a really big part of it, is making sure that we're answering the right question to get you the right output that you need. And so, for instance, in the RAISER program, there is a effort right now focus on FERC Order 1920. And so this, again, specifically for grid planning and compliance, we're able to answer a couple of unique questions here. For instance, around long-term scenario planning or extreme weather sensitivities or evaluation criteria. And so diving deeper into each of those technical areas to understand what that gap is and how we can build a kind of a project around that to make sure it's answering your questions. Yeah, I'll also, final thing I'll put in here is that because we have so many programs, you might not know exactly where to start. And part of that that intake period is making sure that you're in the right program. So if you connect with somebody at NREL, we are more than happy to direct you to the right program and the right folks to get you the assistance you need. And so please follow up with anyone from this call if you have questions more about where to go for a specific type of request. And that is the end of my slides. I think back to Anna.
Thank you so much, Alexandra, and the entire NREL team. That was a great presentation, and there was so much content and great resources in there. And we see a lot of love from folks in the chat and the Q&A, and some questions that I will start. But before I do launch into those questions, I just want to note a few things. First, a link to the recording of this webinar and then also the slides that NREL has presented today will be emailed to you 24 hours after the webinar. But our incredible comms lead, Zareen, has already posted it to the CESA website, and she has uploaded the slides and put the link to the slides in the chat so that everyone can see it right now. And it's through those slides that you'll be able to access a lot of the links that folks have been asking for in the Q&A for certain slides or certain programs or resources. So if you asked about any links, you can find those in the slides that Zareen posted there. All right, so my first question for the NREL folks, and feel free to turn your cameras on if you feel comfortable doing so for this portion. So first, how often are the NREL workforce assessments updated? So for example, every few years or when there's a major market shift? And then also, when will the Workforce Readiness Index be published? Do you have a timeline on that?
I'll start on the workforce assessments, and then Jeremy, maybe you can jump in after me. The assessments are really tied to priorities of the different DOE technology offices. I think it is more similar to if there is some sort of change that's going on in that energy sector space, we may be asked to reassess what's going on there. For example, in hydropower, we are doing an update to a workforce assessment, but I think that's been about 7 years, for example. So they're not done at regular intervals, but they're more in response to potential changes that we are trying to evaluate in a particular industry. Jeremy, if you want to go.
Yep, and the Workforce Readiness Index should be published hopefully this month or next month. So it's been drafted and it's gone through all the necessary reviews. So hopefully that should be in the next couple weeks.
Great. Happy to hear it. Next question is, are any of NREL's workforce development efforts focused on energy code enforcement? And if not, do you have anywhere you'd point folks for energy code enforcement?
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in on that one. PNNL, the Pacific Northwest National Lab, has a specific technical assistance program around building codes and standards, and is a great program. So I would refer to them, but we are also happy to, again, kind of intake questions like that and then make sure you get to the right program. There is support around that, though.
Thank you. So we at CESA have a network, as I mentioned, that goes beyond just state energy offices. And we have some folks on our call today from different organizations. One of them asks, would a municipality or an MSA be eligible for technical assistance programs under this NREL program?
Yes, yeah. Most of our programs, I'd say that there is probably a program for every different stakeholder type. And so we are happy to work with you, yeah, whether you're a municipal government, a local government, state government, a nonprofit, a supporting developer, et cetera. So please join us.
Okay, great. And similarly, maybe you can walk us through quickly how an organization like a higher education institution would sign up for the Energy Forum, I think the one on October 22nd that you mentioned.
Yep, we did share in the chat a link to the Get Into Energy website. So if you go to that website, there's a registration link that'll take you to a Zoom sign up. So if you just sign up there, you should be able to add that to your calendar. I think we are definitely looking for any ways to also help with the dissemination. So I think the ask in there would be if you are a university, like being able to share it with your classes or different courses or listservs maybe within your universities. That would be great to be able to reach a wider audience for this event.
Great, thank you. And this question is specific for Alex. So a participant asks, could you talk a bit more about your work in rural workforce development? So when it comes to building efficiency, certain states have very rural residents that are most costly to serve, as we know, using various sorts of public funding due to their remoteness. And obviously public funds are often squeezed, so it makes it difficult in that sense as well. And if you could also talk about the incentives that are in place for contractors to make them less likely to want to expend time and money for those residents who often need the most assistance.
Great question. And the program I mentioned earlier, the Building Business Network BBiz program, I run that program and we work a lot on this topic. It comes up often. And so thank you so much for this question. I'm excited to talk about it. So specifically with rural contractors, as you mentioned, there's a lot of challenges. So the work that we've done, at least in that program, is we're working with a utility right now, specifically on that, and upping their enrollment to some of their programs and including rural contractors. And so what we've been working on with them is the first one is building a map. And so they were interested in understanding where there was, so it's more of that landscaping technical assistance request that I mentioned of where are the contractors in the state? Are there contractors that we can pull in, or is there truly no one that works in this rural area? And so that would require additional training dollars or efforts to build the workforce specific to that location. The second one, and this ties in a little bit to your second question about kind of challenges that contractors face, is around rebates. And so rebates, financial structures, all that stuff are great for homeowners, and they're often designed for homeowners who would ultimately be the end users there. But a lot of times, because contractors are 8 out of 10 of them are small businesses, it's a really big administrative burden and sometimes a financial burden to wait to have kind of to wait for that rebate, sometimes a month to 2 months. And so understanding gaps like that might dissuade contractors from working on those more difficult types of projects. And so those are 2 examples. We're also looking at case studies of where, and that kind of brings me back to the point I was making earlier about learning from other states. So in this specific state, they've tried certain things, but what have other states tried, and what has been effective there that they might not have tried? And so that sort of peer learning effort has also been really helpful in understanding what has been done that might not be that they might be able to try. And then lastly, I'll say resource development. And sometimes there's confusion of maybe there's already a great program out there, or maybe it's too challenging because they can get assistance in some more well-resourced areas, but in rural areas they might not be able to ask the questions that they need to ask. And so are there additional we're creating like an HVAC kind of a form for HVAC installers when they go in to evaluate, so that they have more support when they're on the ground. So these are all specific to this unique case, but I will drop the email for that program in the chat so that everyone can follow up if you're interested specifically in rural contexts or building contractors. And I'm happy to connect you with the right resources there.
Thank you. Really robust answer. Thanks. So someone else asks, are there any more Spark Squad comics in development? I'd love to see a wind one.
That's a great question. I don't know the answer. Jeremy, do you know? Jeremy works a lot on wind programs.
So there is a wind character. Her name is Aria, but there is no immediate plans for her character development at this point. There was a nuclear Spark Squad just released last year, and so that was the latest comic version, but we're always looking to tell future stories, but nothing immediately in the works.
Got it. Thank you. Okay, so someone else asks, a lot of this work seems electricity generation oriented, and has NREL focused any of their work specific to electricity transmission or grid workforces?
This is a great question. So Jeremy and I are involved in a project for the DOE Grid Development Office right now, where we are looking at workforce needs and challenges in transmission and distribution, specifically transmission expansion related topic areas. So that's just gearing up, and we hope to have the paper published by next summer, maybe midsummer of next year. Jeremy, is there more you want to say on that?
Would just extend an invite if anyone is interested or would like to help contribute. We are looking for stakeholders to kind of engage with us on this project, and so please reach out if you do have interest.
Great. And we'll talk more about contact information close to the end of the Q&A. I see a lot of questions about that as well. So another participant notes that they work in beneficial electrification, and that the framework that you've offered in your presentation is very much needed for workforce in residential HVAC, electrical, and general contracting. And they wonder, is there a framework that they use for other trades, or any chance of tackling this at NREL?
Yeah, I'll jump in first, and then I'm sure other people have thoughts here. I think a lot of what we see is sometimes technical assistance driven. When people come to us with questions and say, hey, is there anything around this? That leads, our work a lot of times to develop more things around that, sometimes starting with that technical assistance project and carrying on from there. So I'd say as those requests come in, we're able to build up more of that, at least technical assistance capabilities.
And this same person also notes that they want to learn more about stakeholder engagement and how to support it. So again, we'll talk about contact information and connect you all later on. So this next participant notes that in the state that they're in, Colorado, they have a large Hispanic population. And for heat pumps, there's a need to either train existing workforce in a second language or train Spanish speakers to service heat pumps. And so they're curious what the data shows is the most effective approach.
Yeah, I can share a little bit. This has come up in that same program, and I know it's also come up with our work in Puerto Rico as well. So we do have that experience from our really in-depth work we've done with the communities in Puerto Rico on bilingual training and best practices there. We do have some materials also that we've published. I know that there was a publication that just came out that had a Spanish version and an English version. And so we're learning more, I think, about that. I'll also say I've had unions come to the programs I work on with the same question. And so there's definitely a bigger answer here, but I think the availability of those resources is incredibly important, and that allows us to support training that's already existing to expand into bilingual services, which is crucial.
Okay, great. Our next participant asks, will these programs include training in knowledge and skills such as installing, reading, and acquiring data from meters such as electric or water meters? And they give some context on their work, but let me pause there as the initial question.
I think others might have answers, but I'd like to go back to the idea that it would benefit the workforce to have more of the competitions at the community college level and at the CTE level. So if we could really have more hands-on challenges and training programs in the areas that are directly feeding those workforce needs, that would be beneficial. We're working on that, but I'm sure we have other programs that are already in place. Can anyone add anything else here?
Yeah, I'll just jump on Elisa's comment. I definitely agree that I think there's a lot of times great organizations in an area that are already doing that work or are better positioned because they're on the ground, they're local, they have those engagements. And so I think where NREL fits in really well is working with those multi-stakeholder teams. So maybe even if you don't know that organization, identifying who might be best positioned to provide those trainings, or national organizations that we've worked with that may not know that this is a need. And then supporting that connection so that you have a local partner.
That's great. Okay, and I'll also give a little bit more context for folks and for you all at NREL. This person notes that they're an energy manager in a public works department, and they need electricians or plumbers to assist them with metering buildings that didn't have meters installed in order to put together the grant proposals and the project development. And so they're facing some resistance to this, and they also need help with validating or correcting previously installed meters, both water and energy. And so these are the things, the skills and abilities that they would like to be included in workforce programs. So again, I see another point of connection there that could help inform NREL's work in the future as well. Okay, so I see we only have a few minutes left. I want to make sure that we talk about how folks can connect with you all one-on-one. One related question that I see in the Q&A is this concept of how to get on a fast track with connecting to you all and to specific staff people or programs. For example, this person notes that they want to make sure that they connect to the right staff person at NREL for a local aggregated virtual power plant in Superior, Colorado, that's undergoing site design of a DER microgrid demonstrating net zero energy ADUs post-wildfire recovery. So very specific program, and they want to make sure that they're reaching out to the right person. How can folks get in contact with you all, and how are you guys going to be able to liaison with the right folks at NREL to make sure that they're talking to the right program?
I think it's safe to say that if any of the participants reach out to any of us, any of the speakers on this call, we will make sure to get you to the right person, either within the national NREL or within the national lab system.
Great. And can you remind folks where your contact information is going to be listed, like on the slides or?
I'm not sure. Can you put it on your website, or do you want us to put it right here in the chat?
We can add it to the chat. Yeah. Zareen can also add it to send it. Perfect. We'll make sure that you all have that contact there.
Thank you.
All right, let's see if there's any final comments or questions that folks from NREL have before we wrap up.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's been really great to hear from each of you and to hear your questions. And we've just been really enjoying this entire webinar. So thank you so much.
Great. Thank you all. And I just want to also note that any questions or suggestions for NREL that the participants have put in the Q&A, NREL has access to, and they are going to be able to see and build off of. So in addition to being able to connect with them after this webinar, they have seen your notes. They are noting what things you are interested in, and they'll be able to follow up and create hopefully resources in the future that are going to be able to attend to those needs. So thank you all so much for joining us here today. We look forward to seeing you on future CESA webinars. And thank you so much to the NREL team for all the work that you put into this, both creating the resources, the engagement, and everything, and for talking to us all today about your work and the resources. Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, folks.